Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be talking about a huge change that is coming to the United States that will involve freezing temperatures for a large chunk of the country. Additionally, we are watching for a winter storm potential later this week and as well as next week. There will also be a chance for severe weather and relentless rain throughout the rest of this week. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast, but let's first begin with what's happening across the United States today. And we will first begin with the northern plains and as well as the Midwest. And this is where we've been watching some shower and even a little bit of storm activity this afternoon and evening. Notice there's a couple little spurts here that are in southern Wisconsin, and there's actually a low-end risk for some large hail and damaging wind gusts out of a storm or two for the next few hours. So that's what's going on up there. It's a pretty weak low-level disturbance. It's really not that intense right now, and it's going to continue to move off to the east, bring a little bit of rainfall to parts of Michigan and eventually going toward New England as we go into tomorrow. But overall, again, a little disturbance, really not going to do a whole lot here across the United States. Now back out to the west in the northern plains, that's where there's a lot more rain activity, and this will really start to increase as we go later into the week. We're going to see a lot more moisture kick out of the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to kind of fuel the atmosphere across the Great Plains, bringing the risk for a lot of rainfall, and eventually as we get late into this week, we'll be watching for a cold air mass to move into parts of the northern plains, and that's where we actually could see a winter storm later this week, bringing several inches of snow, which is something we haven't really said a whole lot since literally last April and as well as March. So it's been a long time since we've talked about any sort of winter activity, but that'll definitely be something to watch for, and we'll talk about more details on that later in this forecast. Back down in the southern plains, this is the remnants from what we saw with Hurricane Norma that was in the Pacific Ocean, and that made landfall in Mexico a couple of days ago, and all that's left is just a bunch of moisture and as well as a lot of cloud cover. So we're going to see showers and maybe even some storms start to ramp up more as we head later into this week, especially Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that'll be the time frame to watch for the southern plains. So overall activity will start to ramp up there as we get closer again to the next few days. Now let's talk more about the weather pattern that'll be impacting the United States for the upcoming weekend as well as going into early next week, because there will be big changes before this month is over. So right now we have a ridge that's back down in parts of like the Gulf Coast, for example. That's where there's warmer and drier air. There are some showers circulating this, but they really won't impact areas like Florida. Then back over to the west of that, we have a low pressure system. So here are your two main components. We also have a low pressure system that is beginning to start to materialize a little bit. That's back over in southwest Canada. So three areas that we're watching for right now. Now, as we go into Wednesday into Thursday, that's when things are going to get very active very quick across the Great Plains. Notice the low pressure system starts to eject over the four corner states. This is not going to really bring any major cold blast or anything like that, because this is coming from the southwest. It's much warmer there. We're not really looking at any cold air out of this one. Now back over in the Pacific Northwest, this area will bring colder air. We're going to be talking about an Arctic blast threat, and we are only in October. So this will be something to watch for, especially for those up here near Montana and North Dakota. That is where the coldest air will be felt as we get closer to Wednesday into Thursday, but there's a good chance colder air will stay there for multiple days, perhaps even a week or two. As we get closer to Thursday, that low pressure system that originated in the four corner states will move toward the Midwest. So this will bring a slew of rainfall from the southern plains to areas in the Midwest, and you'll see that on the future radar here in just a moment. Back over in the Pacific Northwest, that low pressure system continues to sit there. Very strong upper level winds. This will all start to create that cool down and really, again, an Arctic blast threat. Also notice there is a southwesterly flow here. That'll continue to bring moisture as well out of the Gulf of Mexico, basically supplying that rain threat all the way through Thursday into Friday. As we go into Friday into Saturday, this is where uncertainty still remains. It's how far south this Arctic blast will go. We could see temperatures drop into the 20s and 30s as far south as Texas and Oklahoma in terms of at least the wind chills. Temperatures will probably dip into the 30s at least, maybe some upper 20s. That'll be something to watch for, though. There's a big chance that that does happen. There's also a chance that we might not see this go as far south as what it looks like right now, but we are much closer to this event occurring. So notice as we go into Sunday into Monday, very strong upper level winds. What we're going to see at the surface is a very strong push of northerly winds across much of the Great Plains. And again, the question mark will be, how far south does this actually go into parts of the southern plains as we get closer to Monday and as well as into Tuesday of next week? Those will be the 2 days to watch for this cool down. Let's talk a little bit more about the cold air mass that'll be impacting the United States. So as of today, we have a lot of warm air sitting from the Midwest to the southern plains. Here's your cold air mass. You'll notice it's all blue and purple up there. That's pretty cold weather. That's back up in the southwest parts of Canada. As we go closer to Wednesday and to Thursday, that cold air mass will leak into Montana and parts of Wyoming. It's really not going to go that far south, though, by Thursday. It's going to sit there. So those in Montana, unfortunately, you're going to be pretty cold for a while because this thing's not moving anytime soon. Once we get closer to Friday and to Saturday, notice that low pressure system races off to the north and northeast. That's the one that's coming from the Four Corner states. So again, it's going to take that track. It's not really going to cool down many areas. The only areas it might briefly cool down would be basically north of Oklahoma back through Wisconsin. But again, it's a pretty small region. Once we get closer to Sunday and to Monday, notice this cold air mass starts to move further down to the south. And notice these purple colors. That is representing well below normal temperatures from the average temperature in this region particularly. So again, big changes are definitely coming here. As we get closer to Monday, so getting closer to Halloween, this cold air mass really starts to push south into Texas and back through the Midwest, where temperatures could be as low as 20 to 30 degrees below normal in some areas. So again, it could get fairly cold. Now again, how far south does this cold air mass go? Well, the European model indicates it'll go down into Texas, but it really won't dip too far south toward like the Gulf Coast, for example, where a high pressure system will originate. Then another cold air mass could come behind this as we go past Halloween Day. So as we get closer to the first and second day of November, we might see another shot of cold air for the Midwest and as well as the Ohio Valley. So what does this all mean when it comes to the wind chills and the temperatures? Well, the wind chills, it's going to again get pretty chilly. Notice we're going to be sub-zero in Montana both Thursday and Friday. It's going to be very cold there when it comes to the wind chills. Once we go into the weekend, notice by Saturday, we're going to start to dip into the 40s and 30s across parts of the Midwest. Retreats a little bit as we go into Sunday morning, but by Monday into Tuesday, this thing pushes super far down to the south. And by the time we get closer to Halloween Day, the wind chills during the morning will dip into the 20s, perhaps even the teens in the Texas Panhandle. But I want you to keep in mind, there's still some uncertainty on how cold it actually gets. So give a plus or minus 10 to 15 degree range on all this, because there will definitely be some changes, at least for those that are back down here to the south in like the southern plains and parts of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. But again, it will probably at least get pretty cold out there. This is by Thursday morning. I don't know if this will exactly happen. Again, it's very long term. We're talking over 10 days from now. So things are definitely going to change. But one thing we do know for certain, there will be a pretty cold, at least air mass that'll move through the United States. The question really is, how far south does it go and will it stay as intense as the computer models are showing it? Here are the temperatures on Wednesday morning. So the actual temperatures that are being forecasted by the European model. Again, granted, this is 9 days out. We are looking at the potential for freezing temperatures to go as far south as Texas and even into parts of the Ohio Valley. Notice by the thumbnail, you'll notice that this area in particular, we do have that chance for freezing temperatures, and that could even happen before then. We could see this as early as Tuesday morning, which would be Halloween Day. So keep that in mind. Even on Monday, we're going to be looking at that threat primarily for the northern plains and as well as the central plains. So again, big things are definitely coming. Overall, the future radar for the next several days looks a little bit like this. So from the southern to central plains back into the Midwest, very strong southwesterly flow will bring showers and some storms. Notice the high pressure system. That's basically going to circulate all this activity around it. So you're really not going to see much if you're in the southeast for the next several days. As we get closer to Thursday and to Friday, rain continues. Severe weather threat will also exist in the southern and central plains. Risk right now is low, so not too concerning right now, but we'll be watching for showers and storms there. Excessive rainfall, very possible. Winter storm threat does exist for Montana and North Dakota. The computer models over the last several days initially had this snow line down here, so it was more in like southern Minnesota, back near Nebraska even. Now it's much further up to the north, so notice this area in particular will be under that threat. So mainly North Dakota, South Dakota, maybe a little sliver of northwest Nebraska. As we get closer to Saturday into Sunday, things clear out for the most part, but by Saturday into Sunday, things start to return again. So we'll be watching for some showers and as well as some storms. We might see some more snow even from Kansas back into the Midwest as we get closer to Sunday into Monday. There have been some computer models that have shown an ice storm, and I don't think that's going to happen. If it does happen, I mean, again, we're still really far out, so things are definitely going to change. So stay tuned. We'll keep you posted with the latest, and then eventually as we go into later next week, it does look like we'll get back to a bit more of a drier weather pattern overall. In terms of rainfall totals, the key is at the bottom of your screen. Notice this area in particular for the next 7 days, so all the way until next Monday, we'll be talking about the potential for upwards of 4 to 6 inches of rain in some spots. I don't think everybody will see it in this particular circle, but at least a good 30 to 40% of people will probably at least see around 4 to 6 inches of rain. If not, I mean, we're at least looking at at 1 to 3 inches. So again, beneficial rainfall. That'll definitely help with the drought situation. In terms of snowfall totals, we'll be watching a couple different areas, but overall, the snowfall totals will be the highest back over North Dakota through Sunday. And if we do see some snow out of that secondary system as we go into early next week, we might see some snow back down in like the Texas Panhandle, Kansas, and Nebraska. But again, we're really far out. Snowfall totals really a question mark. But if this does happen, it'll probably be very minimal snowfall totals overall. Thank you so much for watching this weather forecast. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you've not already.